everyone. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the first half of February and the full moon that we have coming up in Leo on the 12th. Now, I'm filming this on the 28th, just the day before the new moon in Aquarius. That, of course, is the beginning of the Chinese New Year, the year of the wood snake, a big year of innovation, transformation for sure. And that's reinforced in so many ways. But also just to remark, and I know very little about it, I've been so busy, I know very little about it, but there was a real stock market upset apparently yesterday. Think of Uranus in Taurus, disruption, upset, Uranus in Taurus, wealth, money, created by a new Chinese open source AI called DeepSeek. And you'll have to do your own research on this, but it hit the big tech stocks very hard indeed. They lost millions of dollars very rapidly because this appears to be it was developed for only $6 million apparently in China, and it apparently will allow for more free speech and less censorship. Now, all of those words, China and free speech and reduced censorship, don't always fit very well together. But nevertheless, we are going to be seeing the crumbling of big institutions that I've talked about many times: big governments, big corporations, big institutions, big tech, big pharma, those kinds of big corporations and institutions, because we're moving away from Pluto in Capricorn into Pluto in Aquarius. So we're moving into more kind of David and Goliath type times. The ordinary visionary entrepreneur innovator is going to become much more important over the next 19 years. This is not all going to happen in a month. But it was very interesting to see this. Now, we'll just have to wait and see what develops from that. But it was really right on, running into the new moon in Aquarius, ruled by Uranus. And Uranus, remember, is stationary direct at 23 of Taurus on the 30th of January. So when a planet moves stationary direct, any planet, particularly an outer planet, that symbolism of the planet is magnified several days to either side. So the whole symbolism of Uranus, which I've talked about so often, it's to do with sudden shocks, reversals, surprises, truth coming to light, secrets being revealed, awakenings. Can be to do with seismic activity, literally, or financial or political seismic activity. It can be to do with cyber attacks, power outages, aviation disruptions, all of those things. It's very much linked also to Kundalini energy and also the activation of the third eye, which I know many people are feeling right now. So Uranus is very strong right now. It's also staying at 23 degrees of Taurus all through January, all through February, until the 13th of March. It's drilling down on 23 degrees of Taurus. So if you have any planet or angle between 22 to 24 degrees of Taurus specifically, but also one of the other fixed signs like Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius, you're going to be feeling this kind of restlessness, this agitation, this greater need for freedom, variety, breaking the old stale patterns. You really want to start to manifest what you have already outgrown. So many of us are feeling this, and it is bringing in a lot of downloads and insights, kind of higher mind. Uranus is linked to higher mind too. It's also the planet of revolution, as we know. But I think what we are moving into this year is a revolution of consciousness and a revolution of love. Also a revolution on the streets, particularly Europe, I feel, also America, but very strong in Europe, kinetic revolution, because it will appear that governments in general are becoming more right-wing and authoritarian, but there'll be a pushback from the people. So that's what I'm seeing as we move through 25 and onwards. Also, remember that Pluto moving into Aquarius for the next 19 years until January 2044 will uncover any corruption in science and technology. And that's where a lot of the secrets will be revealed, the truth will come to light. So that's part of this picture too. In terms of aviation innovations, over the last week or so, I've seen two quite significant ones. One is called hybrid air vehicles, where I think it's mainly cargo transport at the moment, where the vehicle lifts off with the benefit of helium and can go much faster. Now, inevitably, that will become, I think, passenger flights as well. But at the moment, it's for cargo. But that is quite interesting. That's a really big innovation in aviation. And the other one I saw just a couple of days ago was a hemp plane, HEMP, where 75% of the structure of the plane was made out of hemp. And even that the fuel, it was a biofuel made from hemp. So this is the kind of new development we're going to see in technology, medical technology, obviously in all kinds of computerization, AI, big time robotics, aviation too. All of those areas, healing technologies, so many. Also to say, right at the beginning of the month, we have a beautiful conjunction in Pisces. This is happening on the 1st. We have Venus, which is exalted in Pisces, conjunct Neptune, conjunct the North Node. So they are all at 28 degrees of Pisces. So this is magical. This is very beautiful. It's creative. It's ethereal. It's helping us dive deep into the spiritual, our divine connection, our sense of oneness, connection to source, unconditional love, healing. It can be great aesthetics that you're working on. You get in the zone and you're painting or you're writing music or poetry. It's very, very creative, but there's a sense of the ethereal about it. You may feel that you're connecting to the elementals, that magical kingdom more easily. And a sense of the world becoming more malleable, less dense and more malleable. There's a sense of just everything becoming more, perhaps, yes, less solid, less reliable, but more malleable for us to create the new with. And this 28 degrees of Pisces, we've only got 2 degrees to go, all of 28 and 29, and then that tips us into 0 of Aries. This is the very, very end of the zodiac. And the fact that those Venus and Neptune and the North Node are hovering around there, we may have a sense, some of us, of emotional overwhelm or confusion. It's just all too much. And we may have a sense of sort of dropping into a void. We know it's the end of some elements of our life, and we haven't quite found our feet yet in terms of what's coming up. And just allow that to happen, because the astrology is very much indicating that many of us will feel like that, and allow that kind of dissolution, if you like, to take place, because from that dissolution, energy is freed up for us to create the new. This is a very big year for the new. Planets, all the outer planets are changing signs in the next 15 months, but particularly Neptune and Saturn will be entering Aries for the first time. For the first time for Saturn, 29.5 years, Neptune, 165 years. And although they meet reliably, they come together reliably every 36 years, they do not do that at 0 of Aries. The creator degree, the most important degree of the zodiac, the very first degree. And so a tremendous sense of new beginnings. And in my research, I'm still digging actually, but it goes, the last time this conjunction happened at 0 of Aries, I think could be as far back as over 12,000 years ago, which is just incredible. So if we're talking about a rarity of all of these, I was talking to Amrit Sandhu this morning on the Evolutionary podcast about this, we have so many convergences of ending of big cycles, the precessional cycle, the Earth is moving through the galactic current sheet, only does that every 12,000 years, end of the Kali Yuga, that's about to complete apparently in March, in 2 months' time, just over 1 month's time actually. That's the end of the Kali Yuga, and then we start to move back up in the yugas. All of the outer planets changing sign, they haven't done that for at least 300 years, but if we add in the dwarf planets changing sign, I can't find a time in history when all of the dwarf planets that I've researched are changing sign as well as the outer planets. Whether you're looking at the solar cycles, 11, 12-year sunspot cycles, whatever you're looking at really, or the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, which is even more rare, whatever you're looking at, it is quite clear that we are in a massive, massive, massive year of transition. So let that void happen. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a rest. I would welcome that. Give yourself a rest to just float, to just be in that sense of sacred space, just drifting, dreaming, planning. Take note of your dreams. This is going to be a very active time for dreaming. So if you don't keep a dream journal regularly, this would be the time to do it at the beginning of February. Very, very strong. And actually, Neptune stays in Pisces until the 30th of March. So that's right at the beginning of February. So beautifully creative, take advantage of that. On the 4th, we have Jupiter moving stationary direct at 11 degrees of Gemini. Now, I think Jupiter and Uranus have some similarities. They are both connected to the truth. They're both connected to the future. So again, we have very strong emphasis on truth, and not only because we also have just had Mercury conjunct Pluto, which is a big revealer of truth, big truths coming to light. But Jupiter is also connected to the law and justice. But both of these planets, Uranus and Jupiter, within days of each other, are becoming stationary and moving forwards, changing direction. So Jupiter in Gemini is about big information, a lot of information coming out that's connected to the truth, connected to law and justice, perhaps. It enables us with all of this Pisces energy to dream a bigger and better future too, a bigger and better future than we have ever lived. And so use that well, because this Gemini is the sign of choice. Be so discerning in your micro, your mini, your major choices as we go through this year. Use discernment. Don't rush. Don't rush into, gosh, that's cool and convenient. Really drop into your heart before you make any important choices for yourself. I think that's really important. But I think also because Gemini is changing direction, what we will find, this is happening on the 4th, but again, you'll feel it several days to either side, we may be changing direction or changing our perspectives, changing our beliefs, Jupiter, changing our views on the facts and the information, Gemini. We will see the facts and the information in a new light because the full moon, the bright, big full moon, is coming down the track on the 12th. So we may have a different view, different perspectives of the information. It may even change our belief system. So that's a biggie too. I think that's very important to watch. Remember that Gemini is connected to birds and lungs. I mentioned that last time, and I know that you follow me with that. Okay, so let us look at the chart for the full moon in Leo, which is happening on the 12th. Okay, here we go. Now, as always, I set this for England. This is where I live. It's happening. So ignore the clock face, ignore the houses. You just look at where the planets fall and their aspects to each other. So this is happening at 5:55 a.m. Pacific and 13:55 UK time. So see where 24 degrees of Leo, the sun and moon always oppose each other at a full moon. See where 24 degrees of Leo falls in your chart. Because this will be shining a light on some kind of completion, culmination, closure, shining a light on something you weren't aware of before. Leo, I think, is the sign most connected to sovereignty. So is Aries. Leo is the biggie because Leo is the king. Leo is regal. Leo is this fixed fire. Leo is connected to the lion, the regal animal in the jungle. It's very connected to sovereignty and letting our own light shine in a creative, strong way. I know who I am, and in shining my own light, I enable others to do the same. Echoing, I think it was Nelson Mandela who was writing that beautiful poem. It's about creativity. Again, Pisces and Leo are the two signs I'd really say are most connected to creativity. Big creativity, big color, honesty, integrity, high principle, all connected to Leo. Courage is a really big one here. Remember, love is a fire. Love isn't weak. Love is a fire. And the dominant aspect here, the strongest configuration, is a T-square, very tight T-square to Uranus, drilling down at 23 degrees of Taurus, Sun, Moon. So not only is Aquarius very strong, because Pluto has just moved fully into Aquarius last November, and Uranus rules it, but Pluto always intensifies and catalyzes any sign that it moves through. But it again really brings up issues around freedom, truth, awakening, shocks, surprises, aviation disruption, cyber attacks, power outages, all of those things I've talked about. Currency volatility, particularly because it's in Taurus, all kinds of innovations. It's about integrity, it's about authenticity. Those are two very big words in 2025. In fact, integrity, humility, authenticity, but Uranus is particularly linked to integrity and authenticity, and actually so is Leo. So we've got some very strong themes here. So something quite significant is likely to happen either in the markets or in new developments with technology or secrets coming to light. We will see what unfolds. And just by astrocartography, if the planets were to leave a shadow across the world at the moment of this full moon, you would have the full moon just skimming the west coast of Africa, the east coast of Australia. You'd have Uranus sitting at the base, the homeland of the US. It's skimming actually the west coast of the US. It is also conjunct the midheaven, running through Russia, Kazakhstan, and Iran. And Pluto, at the time of this full moon, is conjunct the midheaven, running through Greenland, which was an interesting one, considering what's happening in the world, and Brazil. So the midheaven is to do with government and leadership. So not that all of those geographies are going to come into prominence at the full moon, but round about the full moon, one or more of them may come into prominence. That's what usually happens because astrology is a language of probability. So we will just observe and see what happens. So other things to point out here. Mars is still retrograde until the 24th of February, so it's still at its closest point to the Earth. It also remains out of bounds until the 7th of April. So it has this extreme kind of out of control quality, which is great if you're involved in any kind of sports or athletics, because it pushes you to the limit. Thinking about sovereignty, it's in this very tense aspect to Pluto, which these are both connected to power. This is state power, this is individual power. And the Quinta Chile is a kind of obsessive aspect, churning, where's the power, where does the power lie? But Aquarius is very much about freedom, the demands for freedom. And so, yes, there's quite a lot of churn continuing around those issues. And what emphasizes this more is that not only the moon, the full moon, is by degree exactly trine to Eris, but also Mars. Remember, Eris is the warrior sister of Mars, is also a little bit wide, but no, it's about 6 degrees, square to Eris. Mars is square to Eris. So you've got these warrior qualities coming in here. Mars in Cancer it's quite emotionally reactive, so be careful with that. Take a breath and step back. If there's any aggression coming at you, just be mindful. But it's very protective of self, of loved ones, of family, of home and homeland. So those themes could be coming up too. Eris, as I've spoken about many times before, she's a wild card. She's the goddess of discord and chaos, it's called. She orbits 44 degrees off the ecliptic, which is very extreme. There's scarcely another planet that does that. So she is not going to obey the rules. She's not going to be part of the mainstream. She is going to be her own unique self, 44 degrees off the ecliptic, around which most of the planets orbit. So we know the myth. She wasn't invited to the wedding. Mount Olympus, she turned up anyway, created mayhem, challenged all the goddesses, who was the fairest, and threw a golden apple into the group of goddesses. And the Trojan War was said to allegedly come from all of that squabble. So she's uncompromising about freedom, about every voice needing to be heard, about truth, about justice, about equality. So we're getting some very, very clear and strong energies here. And as I say, it's reinforced by that trine to the full moon as well. Now, by the time of this full moon, the North Node, remember, it retrogrades, it moves backwards, is at 29 degrees of Pisces. Now, that is often called the degree of extreme suffering. It's the last degree of the zodiac. So the degree of extreme suffering, and I think we really feel that with Pisces, the overwhelm, the amount of emotion, the degree of compassion that is coming up in us for people caught up in wars, in extreme weather events. I mean, it really is, and they're happening so fast. It's kind of, we're trying to turn over there to give it that love and healing in this direction, and then there's a different geography that's setting off somewhere else. So really find that in your heart to bring up that level of compassion, because that is what's going to be needed. I think really all through 2025, we're going to see some very extreme weather and extreme earth events as we move through 2025, and that's part of the endings and beginnings. Also, we have Mars trine to Saturn. Now, it's a pretty tight trine, 17, 18 degrees of Cancer, Pisces. And this is very, very good for discipline, planning, long-term strategic view of what you're building, and helping to make real the dream. Because the Saturn-Neptune conjunction more and more is about making real the dream. And that will start to take the earliest form when Neptune steps into Aries on the 30th of March. Saturn then does that in May. They backtrack towards the autumn time, Northern Hemisphere, holding hands. They are both exactly by degree and minute conjunct on the 20th of February next year and enter Aries fully then. And that really is a very significant beginning for humanity and making real the dream. So this is your dreaming time, Pisces. This is your meditating time, your planning time. But this Mars-Saturn trine also helps us with that. And in fact, because Mars is out of bounds, it enables us to go beyond old limits, to go beyond the old limits of what we are envisaging for our future. There's so much from the astrology, there's so many indications of this new biology, this change of state for humanity, just the very beginning of it. It's not all going to happen in 2025. But we are in this metamorphosis, which has already begun. As I so often say, you can't stuff the butterfly back into the caterpillar. we are already in process in this metamorphosis, which is this accelerated phase of evolution. And I'll put the video I did about the metamorphosis for humanity below, because I was talking about this kind of wonky triangle between Pluto, Haumea, and Sedna, the two dwarf planets linked to really a complete change of state and regeneration. And I won't repeat all of that here, but that really is worth watching if you didn't catch it, because I'll go through the myths and explain why they are so powerful for us right now. And that wonky triangle of Pluto, Haumea, Sedna is going to be continuing certainly through the next 3 years. Certainly through the next 3 years. Another thing to say about Leo is the sign. It's the sign most connected to the heart. And the heart, as you probably know, is the first organ to be developed when we are in embryo. It's the largest electromagnetic organ. It is the organ, therefore, that connects us to the cosmos. And Lee Harris, channeling the Z's, has said that. Zach, aspect of Ascended Master Dwal Kul, via my good friend Janet Trelaw, has said that. It's the electromagnetic connection, but I think it's actually more than that, because we're starting to learn now about the sacred heart, which Dr. David Clements referred to in our recent conversation as a direct connection to source, an unimpeded direct connection to source. So I think we are going to be learning a huge amount about the heart, physiologically and spiritually, as we move forwards in this ascended evolution that we're in. And when we are in, I think I can stop sharing here, when we are in heart coherence, this is the most positive state for us to be in. It affects the health of every single cell in our body. We enlarge the toroidal field in the heart, which is already our largest electromagnetic toroidal field. It's bigger than the brain. As we know, the heart sends more information to the brain than the brain does to the heart. But the coherence of the heart is crucial for our own health, our own happiness, and we infect others that we come into contact with. We can't put a kind of Faraday cage around our heart's toroidal field. We automatically infect others with this sense of coherence. And coherence is a state of kind of physiological harmony, if you like. Everything is humming. The brain, the heart, the breath are all working in harmony. All of the cells of your body are working in harmony. Everything's humming. And we achieve that state of heart coherence very, very simply by a simple breath. I've got a 10-minute yogic belly breath video on my YouTube channel. I'll put the link for that below. You can go and watch that. So simple. Heart Math have a very similar breath. Greg Braden talks about the Heart Math breath. It is absolutely simple and everybody can do it for free. But it just drops you into your heart. It just drops you into this serene, expanded consciousness, peaceful, blissful state, which is that state of physiological harmony and heart coherence. And the more we can be in that, the better we will navigate and ride the waves of 2025, because there's a lot coming at us. There's a lot coming at us in terms of information, zigzags, hairpin bends, look this way, then look this way. It's going to be dizzying. We also, because of all of the electrification of the Earth and the volatile geomagnetics, are getting a lot of kind of zuzzy, artificial, synthetic, man-made energy coming in, which does not support coherence, does not support physiological harmony. And that is why it's so important to have these very simple tools in our toolkit that we can kind of just drop back into instantly. They become our defaults, if you like. Now, there are technologies already available, and I've mentioned many of them in the past recently, that help us with achieving coherence, but we can do it ourselves via the breath. And the more we can do that and raise our frequency, raise our consciousness, the less those kind of zuzzy, synthetic, disturbing waves of EMFs and Wi-Fi, all the rest, are going to affect our state of being. The higher we go, the less they affect us. We're kind of beyond the bandwidth where they can affect us. So it's so important. They are absolutely vital ingredients for us in 2025. And you can achieve those more blissful, peaceful states so easily. It's all via the breath, or grounding, bare feet on the grass, hugging a tree, all of the things I've talked about. So, and also when we come together in groups, which we're doing in our nightly meditation, you all know about that. I'll put the video below. No tech, no Zoom. We just join energetically because we're all connecting with our hearts across the world. And we are coming into that sense of unity. The energy of our meditation is magnified enormously. The group energy magnifies it, particularly when we have all the same intention of this is for the highest good of all and the highest good of the earth. And we're helping to love and heal all of the humans and animals that need that healing in their extreme circumstances. But we're seeing them not in the problem, we're seeing them having achieved health, happiness, abundance, and peace. We need to focus on the end result of where we want to get to. So coming together in groups helps our sense of coherence enormously because we all support each other with that. We are all supporting each other, even online. We're doing that, believe me, because I know you feel it because you write to me about it. So we don't need weapons. We don't need weapons. We need more heart coherence. That's our powerhouse. Our focus, our attention, our heart coherence. These are the powerhouses of ingredients to help us navigate this very accelerated evolution through this year. I really mean that from kind of deep down in my bones and in my heart. Now, starting in the second half of February, we are entering a period of what I'm going to call the Pisces pile-up. Second half of February, all through March, even into early April, we have a Pisces pile-up. We have an extraordinarily rare number of planets in Pisces. And I'm not going to cover that now. It's too much to say. I'll leave that for next time. But we have an awful lot of emphasis in water. A lot of emphasis in water through second half of Feb, March, and early April. So I hope that's helped. And I'd just really like to end with a quote that just feels so right for now. And it's a very well-known quote from Martin Luther King, but I still love it anyway. And it's a great reminder, and I think very appropriate for where we are. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. We are entering a revolution of consciousness and a revolution of love. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for supporting me, sending all the loving comments. And, I deeply appreciate them. I certainly wouldn't be doing this without you, that's for sure. So thank you for everything and welcome to all the new people. Hope you enjoy all the varied offerings on this channel. God bless. Have a wonderful full moon in Leo. Live from the heart, live from love. And we are going to get to a very different place and a different state of being. Much love. Bye for now.